In this episode of War and Nature, we travel to the east coast of Australia to discover why koalas are fast-tracking towards extinction. My name is Paul Hilton. I'm a conservation photojournalist, and I've spent the last 20 years documenting wildlife crime across the globe. From the jungles of Asia to the shark fin markets in Taiwan, exposing the atrocities of the pangolin trade. From Africa to the border areas of Laos, Myanmar and Thailand in the Golden Triangle. I report from the front lines, tracking wildlife crime and acting as a voice for the voiceless. But it's a job that sometimes comes with huge risk. Putting my life on the line to expose criminals profiting from this savage industry. And in those quiet moments when I take a photograph, I try to connect with that animal. I can almost feel their fate. But it really doesn't have to be like this. Biodiversity creates ecosystems that maintain the balance of all life. It affects the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. Throughout my career, I've always tried to illustrate the scale of what we as a species are up against. My intentions are to move people to act, to become part of the solution. We are en route to one of the planet's last true wild places, to meet those on the front lines of defence for some of the most spectacular biodiversity. Join us on this journey as we explore the last wild places. We visit wildlife crime hotspots and meet the people that can give us first-hand information on what's really happening on the ground.
Australia's biodiversity is both rich and unique. Millions of years of geographical isolation have led to the evolution of an extraordinary variety of species found nowhere else on Earth. Among them, one species stands out as a national icon, the koala. Once numbering in the millions across the country, today fewer than 80,000 koalas remain in the wild. Sadly, koalas are now officially declared endangered and facing a real threat of extinction. Australia has one of the highest rates of deforestation in the world due to land clearing for beef production, unregulated urban development, and native forest logging, which locates Australia as one of the fastest rates of biodiversity loss across the world. Amidst this environmental crisis, a grassroots movement in New South Wales is striving to protect one of the world's most vital koala habitats on Earth by advocating for the establishment of the Great Koala National Park. The future of koalas depends on taking immediate action to protect their forest home.
Come with us and discover how global conservation is helping to protect one of the last great forests for our beloved koalas. Let us show you the beauty, the threats of this intact forest ecosystem. It really is a war on nature.
An upper house inquiry has been looking into koala populations and habitat for the last year. It's found the most serious threat to the species is loss of habitat through climate change, mining, forestry and urban development.
Forest for life! Forest for life! Forest for life!
You're still inside a closed forest. I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
On the mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia, the proposed Great Koala National Park spans 315,000 hectares of magnificent native forest. It is one of the best koala habitats on Earth, but there is a big problem. Logging is still happening.
So I'm just about to go and meet Mark Graham. He's a local ecologist and He's the one that's been really fighting the good fight for the Great Koala National Park. Hey Mark, how are you?
Good, man.
Great to see
you.
you. Yeah, cool.
What are we up to?
I'm here on assignment for global conservation.
Wonderful. Just what we need.
Here in Australia, koalas, our iconic marsupial, have plummeted. Populations have declined to the extent that it's now listed as endangered. It's perilously close to extinct. That's come about for a few reasons. It's come about because of habitat clearance and industrial logging. It's come about because of bushfires, and it's come about because of the climate crisis where particularly heat waves and droughts have wiped them out. There are koalas all around us. This is the primest of prime koala habitat. Rich, diverse, lush lowland forests with all the trees that koalas eat. They need corridors from the coastline up onto the highest peaks of the Great Dividing Range. They need big blocks of intact habitat to ensure that their populations remain viable.
Look at these logs. Everywhere we go, the forest's just trashed.
So Paul, this is a typical industrial logging operation within the Great Koala National Park. We're seeing more and more and more of this. Every bit of forest around us had significant evidence of koala occupancy. This is a koala extinction operation. And this scene is repeated hundreds of times in this state forest alone. Keeping in mind as well, there's 12 active logging operations each day within the Great Koala National Park. Tens of hectares of koala habitat are being destroyed each week. Hundreds of hectares of the best koala habitat on Earth is being destroyed in an area that the state government promised to protect. Keeping in mind that the entire operation runs at a taxpayer loss. So these are literally taxpayer funded extinction logging operations. It's insane.
They are taking out the trees that koalas need today and that koalas will need tomorrow. Every time we log, we make these forests more susceptible to intense fire. It is unfathomable what we are doing. We are literally cooking the planet every time we allow one of those giant machines into these forests.
The government was elected off the back of the promise to make the Great Koala National Park. All that they've done since then is log the best koala habitats within the Great Koala National Park.
Politics is allowing the timber industry to keep logging the Great Koala National Park, and we know it's harming koalas. So when we get this Great Koala National Park, it will be a good thing. But will we get it in time is the real question.
Right now, koalas are fast tracking towards extinction and could be functionally extinct by 2050. It's so important to protect this critical habitat, and that's why global conservation has stepped in to support community and local NGOs on the ground to really step up their fight and take this story internationally. Protecting the koala is not just for the Australian public, it's for the whole world. Koalas are so iconic.
There was one that had chlamydia, which makes their eyes sore, and we came out with some equipment to try and catch the koala. Trap will be set, the koala will come down the tree this evening or in the morning. They tend to just go around the edge, and then she'll get to here where she'll see lights, and hopefully she'll go in there. As she hits the plate at the back, this door will just drop down, and then she'll be in there we can get her into care, then she'll go on a course of antibiotics for about 6 weeks and have some various tests done, and then hopefully be released back here to this beautiful forest.
So within the Great Koala National Park right now, there are at least 12 active logging operations. These big koala habitat trees get logged out of the forest, put on a truck and taken to mills. They get turned into chip and they get turned into garden stakes and other really low value products. It's an absolute waste of some of the best koala habitat on Earth. So the mill yard is absolutely full of koala habitat that's been logged in recent weeks and months. In all my life, it's never had more timber in it. It's turning areas that are supposed to be turned into the Great Koala National Park into really low-grade products. It's such a waste and it's so harmful to some of the best koala habitats on Earth.
It's just unfathomable that in 2024 we are literally still logging our public native forest estate. We are doing it and it is costing public money. We are making a loss. We are turning our beautiful native forests into tomato stakes and timber pallets. It is actually completely irrational what we're doing. We know that our forests are one of our greatest frontline defences in the war against climate change and to protect communities and landscapes from the harshest impacts of our changing climate.
These landscapes are refuges where species will take safe place as the climate crisis continues to impact the planet. And they literally are the lifeline for our globally significant biodiversity, because our forests really are our only proven method of capturing and storing carbon from the atmosphere. And we've got to do so much of that.
We can't go, it's public land and it's Gumbaynggirr country and it's damn fine, and deepest respect to all Gumbaynggirr people, past, present and going forward and emerging. Don't know what was going on, but since our last action on Monday, they'd gone at least one day really hard at logging. They might have gone Tuesday and Wednesday, and where we parked the cars, they'd logged right through.
Group of activists, local community that really care about the Great Koala National Park proposal. They want to see this park created, they want to see the end of native forest logging in this area, and they really care about the iconic koala. And this is what happens on a daily basis. People, until they put their lives on the line, they walk into these camps. This is what you have to do to stop native forest logging. This is what we're up against. Just good people actually care about the right things. Climate crisis is real, and I'll go as far as human extinction. Without these forests creating, safe climate, we have no hope to fight climate change. We need our trees. Every tree is so important. And look at the work that's been done just in the last few days. Look at these logs. Look at the size of them. It's crimes against the planet and it has to stop.
Inside a closed forest, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Taking away carbon stores and aggravating the climate crisis is dangerous. The only thing that's standing in the way of the loggers now is people. Our community has stood up and we've said no to the loggers. And where we are right now is one of the most important areas where we've literally saved a massive block of forest. The loggers aren't coming here now and it's going to be protected. Anywhere that there isn't resistance, anywhere that communities are not stepping up, the forests disappear, and it's a global tragedy.
So on a little bit of a mission now, we're actually going into an active logging operation, which is in the middle of the Great Koala National Park proposal area, and this is high value conservation forest. I've documented greater gliders in here recently, and for the campaign we really need to get powerful footage of trees coming down.
Marks here, these points are greater glider trees.
Yes.
At least 2 of those trees are now gone, and a lot of the others have been logged within the 50
So they're
metre
knocking
buffer.
down habitat trees that have huge wildlife, conservation value, and they just actually knock them.
They've knocked them down. They're greater glider homes.
They found a significant number of hollow-bearing den trees, which they told the EPA about. The EPA told forestry, so the logging crew took out known mapped greater glider habitat trees that were supposed to be protected and a 50 metre buffer created.
They put these H's on these trees as classed as a habitat tree. It's really important for wildlife, and recently there's been documentation and proof that they've actually been knocking down these habitat trees, and they're so crucial for bird nesting, for gliders, for koalas. So this is what it takes to film the logging activity here in Australia. I'm off the side of the logging road with a long lens, and as you can see, I'm camouflaged. The truck's about to come, and it can get violent, and we have to move quick, and it's quite high stress. This is what it takes. In conservation in 2024, this is what we're up against. The Australian government are hell-bent on clearing our forests as quick as possible. It is an environmental disaster. They're doing so much damage to these pristine, last sort of wild places, and this is how we tell the story.
Ingangundi mangun bindala, jungambalangi ambegu.
The immediate solution that needs to happen is that the government needs to do what it promised to do, which is to make the Great Koala National Park. It needs to stop the logging of it immediately.
We need the politics to align, we need the resource investment, we need communities on the ground, and we need to regenerate and recover our forests so that our koalas can thrive once again.
Koalas are fast tracking towards extinction. If these forests keep getting logged, once that habitat's gone, it's never coming back. It will generate in 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, but we don't have the time now. The climate crisis is real. Koalas are so iconic. They create huge amounts of money for the economy, and internationally, they are world famous. Australia needs a koala. Extinction is forever. We cannot afford to lose the koala.
They don't need your pity, just need a helping hand to stand. One day more, we'll stand forevermore. Till forests are protected, we'll hold out one day more. One day more on the forest floor. If the government holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more.